Good evening, friends. Welcome to the India Power Talk. As you know, India Power Talk is an initiative wherein we invite international thought leaders and domain experts to create an easily accessible digital reservoir of their insights, experiences, and strategies on the economy. This is meant to benefit not just Indian entrepreneurs and policymakers, but also international businesses, investors, and strategic partners who have invested in or are intent to invest in India. We have been inviting entrepreneurs, economists, professors, investment bankers, inventors, scientists, and other senior professionals with experience in diverse sectors who could contribute on this subject. For today's conversation, I'm going to focus on what makes a legendary global brand. Marshall McLuhan, who is universally regarded as the father of media and communication, what he said 50 years ago appears to be very much relevant today. He said that we now live in a global village where time has ceased and space has vanished. We all are unbelievably connected with each other. And when the global producers view the entire world as one market, brand designers look with envy upon those that appear to have created global brands. Brands whose positioning, advertising strategy, personality, look, and feel are in most respects the same in the global market. Therefore, key question to answer is how to build a consistent and longevous brand strategy. Based on the Interbrand 2019 ranking of best global brands, Apple is the first one, estimated at $234 million, followed by Google at $167 million and Amazon at $125 million. As you know, there is a very wide literature, analysis, and methodology to understand brand as fundamental business asset. Today, when due to COVID, we all face global lockdown, it has become more important to understand the importance of global brand. To enrich this debate, today I have with me highly experienced Emanuele Sacerdote from Milan, Italy, who has recently authored a book about legendary brands. Emanuel started his career in international advertising agencies Young and Rubicam and McCann Erickson, and then moved to companies in role of strategic marketing and managing directions. Brands like Levi Strauss, Autogrill, Armano Gildo Zegna, Ferrari, Otto Moleskine, and Barbizio. In the last 10 years, he worked for his family company. In 2019, he founded his consultancy boutique Soulside, which was listed at ranking 8 in the top 50 global thought leaders and influencers on change management. In parallel, he has been teaching in several business schools and wrote 7 books, the latest being Legendary Brands, with an intention to answer 2 questions. Why has a brand become a legend? And why does a brand continue to be legend? I would try and understand from him the meaning and the definition of this stimulating niche segment in order to understand more about branding. Let me welcome Manuel on the India Power Talk. Last week during our preparatory discussions, Emmanuel, you mentioned to me that your book, Legendary Brand, is not financial or a narrative, but it is an entrepreneurial project in its strategic and essential components, due to which you also wrote the code of legendary brands to some of the most relevant elements. Emmanuel, may I ask you to begin by giving a short intro about your earlier work and the book Legendary Brands?
Hi, Nitin. Many thanks for this invitation. I'm very welcome to be able to speak about my book in India. So, unfortunately, my book is just in Italian. So maybe one day we will translate in English. So just to tell you about which was the idea when I started to write my book. These wrote start many years ago. The idea was to find out to find out the decodification about why a brand becoming legend. And just to make you an example, Indially based, is a few days ago in last August, the Gandhi's glasses has been in an auction, was sold for $304,000. So the idea is why a pair of glasses have been sold for this amount, this huge amount of money. So the answer is because those glasses was wear by Gandhi, that is a legend. So what I try to do in my book is to find out, not from a person point of view, from a V point of view, but from a brand point of view, the reason why of these brands become legend.
I see. Could you tell something more about your earlier work?
My experience is in the first 20 years in companies. First start from advertising agency and then moving to the companies. Into the companies, I work in some, let's say, from my perspective, some legend like Ferrari. And so I did a job related to marketing, strategic marketing, retail, and business development. Then I had this opportunity to have the chance to enter in my family business, and is a small company, is a small Italian company, very old, because it's just 160 years old, and is part of, from a certain point of view, is part of the story of Italy, because we have a very famous literal price that is very famous. The core business is liquor and sweeties. By the way, I mean, the company is very famous. And then I found my consultancy agency is very small. We do some job much more related to the books that I wrote about strategic planning and strategic thinking, and that's it.
Could you quickly share with us your experience with Ferrari?
Yes, Ferrari. I worked for Ferrari from 2005 to 2008. My experience was related to retail business development. So if you have in mind the Ferrari store, I started in a company where there was only stores in Italy, and I bring the concept around the world. We selected 3 main regional area: China, Middle East, even more because in the Middle East was already the plan to open the Ferrari, the first Ferrari pack, and then and then US. So in that year, I mean, I was the general manager, and I made we developed the products, and we opened stores in franchising around the world. So that's it.
Great. So that's great, Emanuel. But what according to you distinguishes a legendary brand from other brands? In other words, what is the identity kit of any legendary brand?
Okay, so the idea is the following. If you see the market today, I mean, if you go in a supermarket, if you go in a commercial district, you see a lot of products, many products. There is a clutter of products. Most of them are unbranded products. Then there are many branded products.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the reality is that there are very few leaders into the market, and even more, there are at least less than few beauties, and then very limited masterpiece, legendary masterpiece. So the idea was to define which is the let's say, you mentioned about anthropological, is not financial. My work is regarding how to become legendary. So the idea is exactly the following. It's very important, the storytelling of the company. By the way, every company, every brand, every product has a story. I mean, if you ask to any marketing manager, any entrepreneur, there is story behind a products, why they invented and whatever. But the reality is that only few of them, very limited few products can become legend. So the question is why? So I try to answer this question, and let's say that the first answer is that the story is important, but the most important thing is the business entrepreneur project that there is behind. So the idea, the first point of view, the first angle to see to see a brand or a product or whatever, yes, to ready and to read, to understand the story, but to understand which is the business purpose. My idea was to start from the legendary. So this is one side. The other side is legend. What is a legend? Legend is something positive, okay? It's something that is relevant to say in the market. If we think to the history of the man, we image the legendary was one of the first way to describe rules, to fix rules, and to say to the new generation which is the rule. So at the end of the day, today, a legend has a positive meaning into a society, into a community, or worldwide, or whatever. So the idea was to mix those two concepts: business project versus legend. So I found out three key elements that for me is the way to understand if the brand is legendary or not. So the first one is unreplicable. That means that you have done something, you have done a business project, you have done a product that is difficult to replicate. Okay, so the entity, the tangible and the intangible value that there is under the products, the brand, is pretty impossible to replicate.
Okay.
So just to make you an example, the idea is a Ferrari 250 GTO that is cost a fortune, million euro. There are only 37 unit in the world. So that car producing in the 70s was absolutely unreplicable. And the idea is that, so the first issue is to be unreplicable. The second issue is that the legendary brand is scalable. If you think to the Armani hotel in Dubai, I mean, that is one of the part of the story of the business proposition of Armani. That it's absolutely Armani. I mean, if you think to other luxury brand, other fashion brand, they cannot do it. Only Armani can do that. So if you have a legend brand, you can scale up some other category, some other industry in order to build an empire. Okay. The last, that maybe is the most important, is that the legend is fascinating. Fascinating means that yes, could be the first one, can be distinguished, but that is not danger, because what you like is what is not dangerous. So if you, to be fascinating, and an example can be the Chanel little dress. I mean, that it's an icon, and becoming I mean, the business entrepreneur that have done that is today, it's a legend because they've been the first camera and whatever. So I think that this is more or less the identikit. So the idea is to have, of course, a legendary brand must be popular. Must be popular from the community, from the business community, from the press, from the consumer. It's not something that you say, I am a legend. It's the other that say that you are a legend. So it's a large consensus.
Apart from Emanuele, apart from Ferrari, Armani, and Chanel, you said, could you give some more example of legendary brands, and particularly which you might have handled yourself?
Yes, as I said, the book is not about storytelling. By the way, I wanted to point out some brands because I wanted to explain exactly which was my idea. So we mentioned some. I would like to mention another one that is absolutely much more fresh, much more new, that is Tesla. So okay. Tesla is a new brand, is a newcomer. So it's not a long story, but what they have done, they have disrupted completely the category of car, exotic car and electric car. And the other famous German cars decided to follow, because Tesla created a new market, a new trend, and the other competitors in the market It was absolutely bigger
Mhm.
than, and today, I mean, BW, Mercedes, Audi, they are absolutely bigger, but they are following Tesla because Tesla created a new friend. So the idea is that it's not just an issues of story, as I already say. It's an issues of to be disruptive, is
Mhm.
to generate a new category, to generate a new standard, to generate a new attractive solution, a new venture, whatever you want to call. Here, there is a fundamental element that I want to point out that is very important. For me, the founder of the business idea is fundamental. I
Mhm.
mean, I analyze Armani, Vespa. I guess you know in
Yes.
India is pretty famous Vespa,
Yes.
Tesla, Google, Apple. I mean, Chanel. So the I think some uh, relevance reading what was the founders. So the founders was a contrarian guy. So was a new visionary. He was not interesting to understand which was the common things to do it. The interesting thing was to go against
Mhm.
tradition, to go
I
against. So the idea was much more stronger. I mean, I like to say that if Enzo Ferrari, that was born in 1898, maybe he was born in 1798. Of course, he cannot do Ferrari, but maybe he can do another things
correct.
like horse that was running faster or
Yes.
whatever. So the idea is that the only casuality, the only randomness is when the founder born.
I see.
Okay.
How do you see the founders of the recent companies,
The of new venture company
the
that
new
today
age,
call.
or the new digital companies? Can you see any founder of the new digital company really distinguishing himself like a legendary brand?
I mean, I think I believe that I mean the market need followers, need leader, and need legend. Okay, at the end of the day. So
Mm-hmm.
today I think that there are a lot of complexity in the market. So
Mm-hmm.
today to be a future legend will be much more difficult. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I do not believe that in the real economy, in the real sorry, in the old economy, like in the car business, like in the luxury business, will be possible to have newcomers raising new legendary brands.
Okay.
I do believe that will be much more easier that, for example, in the digital,
Mm-hmm.
in the new, for example, I don't know, there is not a leader in the information, in the artificial intelligence, in the drones. So
Yes.
I think that the next new future, sorry, legendary, potential new legendary will go in other markets, in new market, digital market. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you see the story of the legend that I mentioned, all of them create a new category. So if you want to be legendary, I mean, you need to find out a new category, a new segment, a new industry, and to point out that industry and to build something that will be distinguished, that will be disrupted, that will be new, that whatever I already say.
So
So
would you consider Facebook, Google as a legendary brands?
yes, Google, it's absolutely a legendary brand for me. I mean, my idea was to read different categories, not just luxury and because
Understood.
I mean, so the idea was that Apple is absolutely a legend because they have done the things in a different way. I mean, Samsung I like very much, but is
Mhm.
less disruptive. Even more, Samsung. I mean, of course there will be a founder, okay, but the role in the history of Apple, in the history of Google, in the history of IKEA, for example, the role of the founder was absolutely much more important.
Mhm.
So, and when I say the role of the founder means that if you want to understand, you have to see a lot of video, what they say, but also to understand his history, where they study, the friends, which are the hobbies, which is the personality, because you understand exactly which is the the role of the founder. So I don't think that there is a legend that have not a founder in the
Mhm.
role that I mentioned here.
Great. During the discussion last week, you mentioned to me about the first principle of code of legendary brands. Now, could you please give us the definition of your definition of the commercial activity? What you mentioned?
Okay, the issue was to write a code. So it's based on 10 principles. So the first principle is the most important one, that is related to commercial creativity. The commercial creativity is exactly in my book is exactly the same of the scientific
Mhm.
creativity and the artistic creativity. What I wanted to say is that Guglielmo Marconi, when he invented the radio
Yes.
wireless, the wireless radio, he used a lot of creativity, but downloaded to scientific. Okay, so when Leonardo da Vinci made his artworks, I mean, he worked with artificial creativity.
Mhm.
Those people must have an incredible imagination of the absence. Okay, so the idea of the commercial creativity is exactly the same.
Mhm.
So into the mind of the founder should be a need or should be an intention to feel something that didn't exist
Mhm.
or can be in a different way. So the idea of the commercial creativity is related to be as much as possible revolutionary,
Mhm.
because breaking the past to find out new rules, and this was the idea, to identify. And sometimes if you think, uh, the idea of the business entrepreneurs project is related to the tangible relationship of the product. So the needs, the desire that is what you're going to sort out for consumer and whatever. But it's also always a identity project. So
Mhm.
the code, the communication code, the identity, the identity branding. If you think about Chanel, I mean, she did an incredible job because she created an iconic legend, also related to how to present the business. Okay,
I I wish, Emmanuel, we could have gone through all the 10 principles of the code. Uh,
okay,
but lack of time, I will have to jump to the 10th principle which you mentioned about the
see.
better world. You said in the 10th principle, you talk about the better world and wisdom. Now, how did these brands perform during the first lockdown in the COVID-19 period?
I was already prepared to release the brand before the COVID, and then I decided to stop because what I wanted to do is to understand what some of those brands what they can do it in terms of practical things.
Mhm.
So the idea, the 10 principle about the better world means that if you are a legend, you are leading, you are observed by the business community, by the consumer, by all the others. So the issue is that you must be example and again exemplar for the community. So you must be, one of your duty is to create a better world. So just to go to some example, I mean, Larry, let me remind you that one sentence from Larry Flink,
Mhm.
the CEO of BlackRock, that he
Mhm.
mentioned about the fundamental reshaping of the finance. So was criticizing how we do finance.
Correct.
And if those sentences been written and said by the CEO of BlackRock, of course, becoming much more important than say by, for example, by me. The other issues were related, for example, again to Ferrari. So Ferrari creates some ventilator. He engineered some ventilator for the hospital and produce for free and distribute. But one of the most important things was the critic of Giorgio Armani
Mhm.
release in in April 2020 about the fashion community. So
Mhm.
the idea was that he said that as we done in the past, see, as before COVID, was wrong. So we need to change. And I
Correct.
think this is a very important statement that will change that will change hopefully the fashion market that is much more relevant in the future.
I see.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
thanks a lot, Emanuele. It's really very interesting to know about. This is a complete new subject for me, and really interesting for the audience as well, I guess.
Oh, I hope.
Yes, sure. So what's your, let's move to, you spoke about digital branding or the new age, legendary brands. So what's your sensation about the future of legendary brands?
Okay, I can do an estimation. I think that the next legendary brand will be the company that will invent the vaccine for the COVID. Okay, so I mean there is a long there is a long list of companies that are fighting to be the first one. So
Yes.
the first one will be a legend, believe me. By the way, as I mentioned before, the great possibility to becoming a legend is in the let's say
Digital,
IoT,
IoT. Yes.
digital, um, because over there is frontiers. There are plenty of rooms to fill in. So when there will be the next the next I don't want to say I mean it's not comparable, but like Facebook. I mean Facebook 20 years ago they didn't exist. Google the same. So when someone will do something in the digital that today we don't know. Okay, so there are new ventures that are working in the garage or not in the garage. So, but I think that over there is rooms to fill in. I
Right.
do not believe that in the old economy there is a
Yes.
lot of rooms to fill in first, and
Hmm.
second because there is already a lot of competition. What I believe that in the closer future, in some markets, in some category, there will be less competition because maybe there will be the leader, the most historical brands, and then a lot of brands, unfortunately, will not last because this situation, this crisis that we are living is very critical, is structural and systemic. Anyway, we will see. So let's see what will happen, and maybe in 2 years' time we will have some
Will
others, some new leaders, some new legend in the market.
do you think, Emmanuel, that with the penetration of, see, today the entire world is connected. We all are 6
Yes.
billion people are connected with mobile phones, internet, and social media, and through all devices we are connected. Now, what would be your advice to small companies? How could they become a legend? First of all, can a small company become a legendary brand in that instance? And small company not from the old economy or the new economy, just any small company.
Um, the issues of legendary, it's an international wise. Okay, so the idea was to be globalized. The company that I mentioned are globalized. If we reduce the space, if we, on a geographical point of view, and we decide that there may be some like in Italy or in India, I mean the geographical the geographical area that we want to analyze is India or Italy or whatever, maybe also for small company. I mean they can be leader first and then becoming legend. Of course, it's not an issue of geographic, it's an issue of to do something disruptive. So one of the risks of small business and sometimes they are follower. Okay, they are not leader because they have not the capability to do it. Maybe some of them, I mean, if we think to I mentioned about the garage, I mean, if we think to the original momentum of Google, there was Yahoo, there was other brands. So today
Right.
there is only one. Okay, so maybe if we reduce the geographical and maybe in a small market, maybe some small brands can become legend in that
Geographic.
specific area. Answer to your question. What we have learned during the COVID is that e-commerce was growing very fast. Was
Yes.
growing due to the fact for two reasons for me. One, because there was not possibility to go to the off market to offline to buy. So because I mean in Italy we have a three months lockdown. So if you want to buy some books, you can go only by the way. But the second issue is related to non-user consumer. So that situation, some of non-user consumer start to use e-commerce like the first channel. So I think this
Mhm.
was positive. So we will see in 1 year what will happen. But the second thing is also related to local store. I mean, not downtown store, not commercial district, but local store close to our houses. That was absolutely increasing because it was the only one close to the where we live, because we cannot move and go to the office and whatever. So I think that the small businesses must learn from these stories. And I do believe that the e-commerce is something that you must do it. I mean, it's not an issue. I do it or not do it. You must do it,
Correct.
because if you are not do it, you will be late. One of the rule of the legend is because they play in advance. They don't they play they force to be in advance, and sometimes they are too much in advance.
That's right.
So if you are a follower, I mean, today there is no issues to not use the e-commerce. Do it. You will learn, and maybe in the next 2 years you will be the I always like to raise this question: how will be the e-commerce, the online business in the next 2 years? Will be 15% of your business. Yes. How is today? Zero. So you will have 50% more. You
Correct.
must do it. No way.
You're right. Is there anything, something very unique which you would like to share about legendary brands?
Um, legendary brand About legendary brands. Yes. What I can say is that the most important things is the intention. Is the intention? Is the idea? What I mentioned is the commercial creativity, but you need to believe, you need to evaluate things with the heart, with the stomach,
Mhm.
and also to judge with the brain. But it's an issue of intention. Thinking different with a different perspective, looking the things in a. So I think that this is for me is one of the most important understanding of my book.
So what would be your advice or message to all those potential founders, or what would be your one message to the potential legendary brands?
Think different if it's possible, and try to do something as much as possible consistent. Find out the moment of fame.
Hmm.
Try to be distinguished
Hmm.
from a certain way. By the way, to be honest, I mean, there are few rooms to be legend in the market. So maybe we need also very good followers
Correct.
that do the quality. And so, I mean, if you are not chance to be a relevant legend, be a very strong follower, let's say.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me ask you a completely a different and tangent question.
Okay.
What is your perception of India, India as a country brand?
Okay. Very difficult question. Thank you very much, Nitin. I've been in India only once in my life, in 2007, for a Rajasthan journey.
Mhm.
Uh, I like very much India. My perception is that is very large, a lot of people.
Mhm.
Let's say complicated to understand, because India is nice, colors. You have a lot of story, very important. Maybe you can say the same of Italy, because you say Italian is always. But maybe I don't know, because I cannot evaluate Italian from an Indian point of view. Anyway.
Emmanuel, I really want to thank you for your valuable time and these very very rich insights on the legendary brands and the toolkit for legendary brands. It was a pleasure talking to you, Emmanuel, and thank you once again for being
You are welcome, and thank you to you, to give me the opportunity for the window. Okay.
great. I
Thank
would
you very
like to
much.
Thank you, Emanuel. I would like to thank the Indian Chamber of Commerce, Law Seco, and the India SME Accelerator Network. Let me conclude my vote of thanks with the humble prayer to the Almighty to bestow mankind with the right spirit to fight coronavirus and help restore peace, prosperity, and bliss. Thank you, Emanuel.